Teenagers of Reddit aged 13 to 18, what do you think defines your generation right now? Trying to be famous. Everybody thinks they can make it big on YouTube or some other platform, but most can't. Gallows humor. There's a general belief that the world sucks right now. And it's only going to get worse as we grow up. So what do? We make jokes about it. Constantly. I want to die. Ha bro, same. Getting caught up with social media. Trying to fit in. And then perhaps forgetting about the real essence of life. Without a direction you feel stuck, unable to do anything. Juuling. Eating hot chip. And lie. Fake influence. People are making TikToks and claim they are influencers. I've never seen more people go through a school day without being sober in my life. The ability to easily get a dab pen or a Juul probably defines our generation. Weird thing is, I know kids who legit smoke weed and drink every day, but you mention a tab of acid and everyone acts like you're doing heroin. IDK. Probably making shitty memes. I don't think there's been anything significant that we've done as a whole. Lo-fi hip-hop beats to relax, study to. I can tell you this, our generation is obsessed with relatability. And finding comfort in others who find those same things relatable. I mean, the basis for most memes nowadays is relatability after all. A complete lack of social clicks. I find this is something filmmakers are struggling to nail down. We don't have nerds and jocks anymore. It's all kinda blended together. There isn't specific seating arrangements in the cafeteria. And no lunch money stealing physical bullying. Everything's more digital now, so there really isn't a high school society. Just here to see if my 21-year-old ass is still relevant. Not to sound really old or anything, but I think it's our phones. Nobody in our generation likes to admit it, but we do use our phones a lot, and it must be unsettling for people 40 and older. Self-deprecating memes along with romanticizing mental illness. I'm 18 and know too many 11 to 15-year-olds who claim to have a huge list of mental illnesses. They seem to brag about it. As if it's a competition for who has the most shittiest life. Not that I'm saying they can't have mental illnesses. It's very possible, but I hope they can learn it's normal to be sad or anxious sometimes. And that it doesn't automatically equal something more. Edit. I slept the day away and woke up to this. Oh my god, thank you for the awards. Less than 33. The motivations are different from other generations. I see it everywhere. From tiny subcultures within fanwork communities. To kids trying to start a career with YouTube. This generation isn't making things. Media content. Solely for the goal of making it and distributing it for the enjoyment of others, but rather for the potential fame, popularity, and money that may come with it. People stop writing when they stop getting comments on AO3. People stop posting their art when it doesn't get likes. People give up on trying to make videos when they don't get views. People are making content only if they're able to sell it. It's the result of social media being pushed in a direction where you're not trying to share yourself, but you're instead being encouraged to sell yourself. The easiest way to notice this change is probably by watching YouTube videos from 7 years ago and comparing them with the ones that are published now. Videos that are posted now are usually over 10 minutes. More ad revenue. Don't have certain music, copyright, and are usually meant to be safe for all ages of viewers, so they aren't demonetized. Platforms only encourage content they can sell. And as a result, people only make content the platforms can sell so they can make a living. This generation, in the Ask, is most familiar with the motivation being to sell content. And if their motivations are different, they quickly learn other people will only find their work if it's marketable. TDLR. Teens are more likely to create content that's marketable or likely to make them accrue internet fame, rather than for their own enjoyment. Being both incredibly pessimistic and progressive at the same time, most of us feel like life could end at any moment because of a mixture of depression and news outlets, scare tactics. But at the same time, many people in our generation are incredibly open to and advocating for change. Asking a sex or porn-related question on every 9 seconds. You know when you microwave a lasagna and the middle is kind of just not microwaved at all, that's kinda how it feels like. Rampant porn addiction. A lot to unpack there. But I'd say it's worth noting that we always viewed generations before as ignorant or bigoted, a good example of this being the OK Boomer fad. But ultimately, we're drawing lines in the sand to seem more sophisticated. And when the waves wash them away, a lot of us will become the same intolerable assholes we profile our forebears as. I'm 15 and everyone apart from me are road men. It's an English thing. And a side effect of this is being so sheltered that they lash out at everyone for the upbringing that they were never given. They wear full tracksuits and carry knives, even though their lives are far from dangerous. The only thing they love more than telling people that they're broke is coming from unbelievable wealth and telling people that they're broke and they aren't a rich privileged kid. It's sick and unnatural, and I'll answer any questions about these abominations. A strange mix of humor and mindfulness, as well as memes and self-deprecation. Honestly, Gen Z create a lot on memes. Commonly self-deprecating memes. Just because it seems to our type of humor. I think it has a good way of uniting us all. Everyone enjoys memes. But I also think kids my age are more involved in politics, global issues, controversial topics, etc., and are much more open to discussing these things, as well as educating themselves and forming their own opinions. It truly is admirable. Memes, influencers, mental illness, LGBT acceptance. We are always searching for something to relate to. Self-deprecation is very popular, toxic gatekeeping is running rampant, and we are becoming too self-entitled but at the same time bipolar because of social media. I see girls at my high school crying because they hit 900 likes instead of 1,000 on their last Instagram post. Some girls and guys will bully people at school and then light up their Snapchat story with depressing messages later that night. Worst of all, our sleep schedules are way worse than previous generations due to stress and technology. Caffeine is extremely addictive too. It's a strange mix. Some teenagers are super progressive and resilient and mindful while others are destructive and careless. I think as a whole we tolerate people that are different than us more than older generations, though sometimes it seems as if we haven't gotten far at all. Unfortunately, social media is the definition of my generation. We were the first generation to start using it at a young age, and now technology is just an extension of our life. Teens that don't have social media now are either seen as sheltered or self-righteous. From the stories my dad tells me, teenagers act out a lot more without punishment. Talking back to the teacher doesn't get the paddle anymore, and there's no fear in disappointing adults for the most part. I think my generation realizes that older doesn't necessarily mean wiser. All that the world is now is a product of adults. We are the way we are because adults foster these bad attitudes and hysteria because it's the adults that are setting this example. I look around me and see few good examples. Cock and ball torture. Everyone relies on others' approval and praise. Fuck. I do too. I think one of the biggest differences with my generation is that everyone has instant access to a community of like-minded people. I think that really our defining characteristic. Our generation grew up with the most connection to everyone else. All the time. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing, it's just different. On one hand, there's the anxiety that comes with social media. On the other hand, there's an incredible power in being connected with like-minded people. I think one of the big challenges our generation faces is being misunderstood. We're profiled as screenagers, mindless social media addicts who only care about life in cyberspace. However, I think this is due to the fundamental difference between the way we interact with technology and the way our parents do. You'll notice that the most popular social network for previous generations is Facebook. While my generation jokes about how nobody uses Facebook, and I think this speaks to how we perceive the internet differently. On Facebook, the goal is to keep you scrolling. And this is accomplished by having a supersized friend list. Facebook encourages people to have very long friends lists in order to fill them with content that people are likely to spend lots of time viewing. Facebook's main tool to keep people scrolling is an endless list of content, thus, the long friends list. However, social media platforms used by my generation seem to gravitate towards two different types of media. One side we have platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, very much geared toward a personal connection with people. These platforms are more focused on connecting you with others, rather than filling your feed with the activities of vague accomplices. On the other side we have platforms like the Instagram's Explore page, TikTok, YouTube, and, to some extent, Twitter. These platforms are more about content consumption. They aren't focused on providing connection to friends or family. Rather, their goal is to provide content that is used for entertainment. There isn't a strong emphasis on human connection, because the purpose of these programs is to give you content that is uplifting, funny, etc., while you are at the bus stop. What worries me is that other generations don't understand a lot about how we interact with the internet. It might be easy to assume that we're mindlessly goofing off on our devices, but this is a slightly skewed perception of reality. Sure, we often use platforms like TikTok for entertainment. And admittedly, sometimes at inappropriate times. But attributing these problems to the technology as a whole is a recipe for contention. Taking away a phone because of too much TikTok is understandable, but this also cuts us off from our connection to others. And I think that's what causes lots of arguments. I really hope that others will learn to recognize the separation between connection-oriented technology and consumption-oriented technology. Because it's a key reason that explains why our generation uses the internet the way we do. Memes. Social media. Labeling your sexuality.